on WTQT 106.1 LPFM, and we're also now on Shreveport channel. This is TV, Shreveport channel K31.2, Alexandria channel K38.2. And Neil Paul Miller, business manager of Plumbers and Steamfitters, Local 198, is in. And good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Michael.
Is our fact checker, Karen Miller, listening today?
I don't know. She told me to text her when we got on air.
She didn't enjoy my music. Is what I'm getting the drift here. But this morning we got Ed Parker calling in, and I'm trying to find his card to introduce him. I got all these cards here, Neil. There's Ed. Ed is right on the money. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with Ed Parker, and I'll let him introduce himself. Good morning, Ed Parker.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Are we coming on, deal? Let's see. Phone, mic.
Yes, you're good.
We're good. Ed, you're on. Ed Parker with Ask Me. Introduce yourself, Ed. I'm looking for your card, and I can't find it anywhere.
It's Ed Parker with American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. I'm the staff rep for the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area.
Okay, Ed, look, before we get into your business, and I know that you're organizing a lot of taxi cab drivers. I mean, hundreds of taxi cab drivers are running to the Ask Me Local. And, I know you got a lot going on down there, but one story I wanted to bring up, and I'm sure with your connection to the Louisiana legislature, you might want to talk about it. So I'm going to go into this story, and maybe we can kick this around a little bit. This comes from Roll Call. This is the source for news on Capitol Hill since 1955, and it's by Emily Kahn, October 11th, 2013. Louisiana special. Reiser is sitting pretty, but who will he face in a runoff? In an upcoming special election in Louisiana's 5th District is shaping up to be the most unpredictable special election this fall, as a crowded field of 14 candidates from both sides of the aisle battle for 2 spots in a runoff election. Operatives in the state say it is a lock that conservative state senator Neil Reiser will receive the most votes in the October 19th primary and secure a spot for a November the 16th runoff. October the 19th, that is next Saturday. But what operatives say remains unclear as whether who Reiser will face in a runoff, with one of top 3 Republicans, former Representative Clyde Holloway, State Representative Jay Morris, or businessman Vance McAllister, or whether Monroe Mayor Jamie Mayo, a Democrat, will take the 2nd place spot and pave the way for Reiser to coast into office in this strong Republican district in northeast Louisiana. There are politics, then there are Louisiana politics. One Louisiana Republican operative said of the state's jungle primary system, if no candidate receives 50% of the vote, the race goes to a runoff between the top 2 vote getters, regardless of party. Reiser has been the front runner in the contest since Republican Representative Rodney Alexander announced in August he was leaving Congress to take a job as Louisiana's Secretary of Veteran Affairs in GOP Governor Bobby Jindal's administration. He's got $561,000 in his campaign fund. He's been endorsed by Majority Leader Eric Cantor, Bobby Jindal, Timmy Teeple is his top advisor in the race. Ed, what can you bring to light on this?
Well, from what I've seen traveling through the district, it looks like, Neil Reiser is the front runner. I don't see anyone else coming out that far ahead of him. I think, Jamie Mayo is going to pull some votes up in the northeast section of the state in that Monroe area. I think Representative Robert Johnson is going to be the dark horse in the race.
Well, Ed, this is Neil. How you doing this morning, buddy?
Good, Neil. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I think one thing that that all of Reiser's opponents have going for him is Bobby Jindal endorsed him, and he hadn't been on a winning horse since he's been in office, so that might be his downfall.
Yeah, he did pretty good with the Betsy board.
Yeah, but he was behind the scenes with that.
I've also seen, talking to a lot of the constituents in the 5th District, because the way that district meanders through the Florida parishes, I was over in Bogalusa Tuesday and Wednesday, spent 2 days over there. I saw a lot of Neil Reiser signs, but talking with the citizens over in Washington Parish, they seem to be convinced that they're looking at Jamie Mayo.
Well, I think this election is all going. Well, it is, because it's a special election. I mean, there's nothing else on the ballot. It's all going to be about voter turnout.
I agree, Neil. I agree. If the vote turns out, it could be a toss-up.
Oh, it could be very easily. I mean, all you have to do.
Organized labor has done well in special elections.
That's right.
By getting our vote out. After that, in a general, it's kind of hard when you got big money people throwing in candidates to split the vote and stuff like that. But in this jungle primary, it's just crazy. It's just what it says. It's a jungle
What is
primary.
it? Is there 15 people running?
But Mike,
14.
14 people are running, Ed.
Pardon?
I said there are 14 people in this race.
Right, and they're going to split a lot of votes. They're going to split a lot of votes all the way from Monroe down through the Florida parishes, back across over into Washington Parish. I mean, traveling through St. Helena, I saw more Clyde Holloway signs than I did anybody else, with the exception of Weldon Russell. Getting over through Aidmead, throughout that way, Tashbone Parish.
Right.
Back into Washington Parish, there were a lot of Weldon Russell signs. So, with 14 candidates running in a 2-slot race, they're going to split a lot of votes. I mean, you got 4 Democrats running in that race. All of them are labor-friendly. Vince McAllister, being the newcomer to the race, is going to pull quite a few votes from that Monroe down through Richland Parish. Down through there, all the way down into Faraday. Alexandria area is where the majority of the votes at.
Right.
So that's going to be the tall tale.
Well, it's all who gets out and votes. So, Ed, what's been going on your end? Mike saying that you've got a bunch of taxi cab drivers and other things. Why don't you explain to the listeners what you do and how you do it?
Well, I am a field staffer out for American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. August of 2012, I started meeting with the independent taxi cab drivers of Rawlins and Jefferson Parish, and went through several meetings. January had a big meeting of 13. We actually started the organizing drive May 26th. So from May 26th to October 5th, we've managed to sign up 825 new members, create a brand new local 234 within the city of New Orleans. They've been chartered by International, so they're up and running. So, and that local is growing. I expect by the end of the year to have close to 1,000 members in that local.
Wow, and this is all going to be in what area, Ed?
Orleans and Jefferson Parish.
Wow. What about the Baton Rouge area? Have you even tried it yet?
We've started in a couple areas in Baton Rouge, around the city of Baton Rouge, with a few of the entities there. It's just slow going because it's mainly I hate to say this, Neil, but it's a Republican-controlled area.
No, really?
Yeah.
And I mean, when they're not all that labor friendly. And when you're talking about organizing, and that's what I like about the radio show. We get to explain our side. I mean, all the public gets to hear is the other side. When we're talking about organizing, it's like anything. When you have numbers, you have a bigger voice. And what you were doing down there is these people don't have a voice. It's like one person in the company or whoever they're working for can say, hey, if you don't like it, hit the road. I got somebody else. But when you get the group and they say, hey, you're not treating us right, we as a group aren't scared as an individual is. And when I say scared, I shouldn't use that word. When you got a family, wife and kids, or even if you're single and you're trying to get by day, it's hard to go to the boss man or the company or whoever and say, hey, I need a raise because my rent just went up and I don't have enough money to pay my utilities and my rent. I don't have enough money to buy me a new pair of pants or a jacket or whatever, And but as a group, you can go in there and say, hey, the gasoline prices have come up, and the price of food has gone up, and healthcare, whatever, So
Neil, when you take all that into consideration, those individuals with the independent taxi cab driver, I used to think, society as a whole treated people better than what they were being treated, but those citizens are being treated, especially citizens of Louisiana, much less the country, are being treated like they're third, fourth, and fifth class citizens. And their wages are not that great. Their expenditures are real high.
Right.
They're paying their own vehicles, the upkeep of their own vehicles. So when the city of New Orleans started mandating that they spend thousands of dollars on equipment, and then mandate that they go spend $30,000 or $40,000 on a new vehicle, well, that takes out away from the family. And I think that was the driving force that they said enough was enough, and they started standing up. And of course, like I said, that they were looking for a way to get themselves back to the bargaining table. We just happened to be the avenue they chose to go that way.
Ed, this is Mike.
No, really?
Please explain. We're talking with Ed Parker. He's a regional organizer for the ASME, and we're on WTQT 106.1 FM. Ed, I was reading, the Advocate's doing a lot more New Orleans stories now, to theadvocate.com. And I was talking to you earlier this week, and you were telling me the effect of these drivers joining, creating a union, coming together as an organization, that the city council has had what I would describe as a come to Jesus moment when it comes to these drivers. Could you get into that a little bit?
Sure, Mike. You know, when they passed 31 ordinances, and all 31 ordinances it's all under main ordinance, which is Ordinance 162. They called it vehicle reform for the taxi cab industry in the city of New Orleans Parish, and Jefferson. And this reform, when they passed it, it mandated that they come in compliance with a lot of those ordinances. Now, when you talk about 31 ordinances that affect people's lives, you know, when we started doing our investigative work, we started working with some of the city council. My hat's off to Brother Tiger Hammond, who is over the central body in New Orleans. He's been a big help to us. It was just unreal when they sit there and we started working with members of the city council, meeting with them, and they said, hey guys, you know, we passed the ordinances and that's just the way it is. But when we started bringing to light what was in those ordinances, you know, they took a different light to it and said, hey, I mean, we just had a great meeting with Councilwoman Christian Palmer, who's president of the city council, and she said, I understand now with some of the things y'all are talking about.
And Ed, it's not like, and maybe you are, but I doubt you are. It's not like y'all are against all 31.
No,
they just want to tweak a few of them, or you know, some of them are unjustifiable.
Well, you know, we sat down and went through all 31 of them. We've met with Malachi Hull, who is the director over the Taxi Cab Bureau, and we've explained to him and the city council, hey, we're not against the ordinances. There's just certain portions in the ordinances that we have issues with. And, you know, when you sit down and you look at it, like the age of the vehicle, which is part of the ordinance, when we did an inventory of the vehicles and the age of the vehicles, looking at them, there's some 2002 that some of the drivers are using that are in excellent shape.
Right.
And they're in better shape than some of the 13. And as far as the safety features, they're even better than what the 13s and fixing to be 14s that are coming on the street.
And Ed, you know, again, in this, I'd just like to keep the listeners informed. When you say we, you've got a group, you've got this 200 people, or how many have you organized so far? 800. You've got 800.
Roughly 825.
And what they do, just, you know, again, so we can educate our listeners, what you have done, you've got this 800 and something people, you get them all at one location. They elect and I'm assuming a president or a business agent, but a president, a vice president, and a negotiating committee, and y'all as a committee, so it might be 4 or 5 of you, go in front of the council or go negotiate for the whole, and then once you get your answers, you come back to that 800 people and say, hey, this is what they got, this is what they offered us, do we want to go further with this, are we okay with this, are we against this?
Neil, you're correct, that's the way it works. We have basically what we call an OC committee. That OC committee is made up of 15. They sit down and they go through it, and they bring the information to the governing body. The body sits and takes a vote on it, on what they're willing to accept or or do they want to go forward and try to make further changes? So far, it's worked out great. They have sat down and, like I said, just had a meeting with Councilwoman Christian Palmer. They've met with Councilman Gray, Councilwoman Cantrell, Councilwoman Guidry they're meeting with, and it has gone real well so far, even to the point of working with the director, Malachi Hull, where he has said, hey, we're trying to use best practices. Well, with best practices that may work like in a big city of New York, even Washington, D.C. or Chicago, is not necessarily what best practices that may work here.
Right.
When government goes to mandating things and says this is the way it's going to be, and you're hurting people, well, I think it was the Times Picayune and WWL-TV in New Orleans got out and interviewed the citizens of Orleans Parish, and they come back and said, hey, we don't think this is right. We depend on these people to pick us up, take us where we need to go. Their vehicles are safe, they're clean, and they come back and pick us up and take us back home. We depend on this transportation. But it seems that when you single out the group, you're taking out, denying them a right to make a fair and honest wage.
I wonder if they're trying to Bobbyize it, privatize it, where where he can get his group of people in here to do the taxi cab stuff.
Well, these guys are already independent drivers.
They're already, but I wonder if Bobby's trying to get them out where he can get his group of people from wherever he gets all the other stuff from.
Trust me, Neil, they are trying that on every avenue, but we've been successful.
Well, and Ed, let me stop you right there, because I don't want the listeners to just think that's all you have done. I mean, you've got a pretty good track record, because we're sitting here talking about what you're doing right now, but let's talk about what you've done the past few years. This is just the taxi cab drivers. Explain to the listeners, in one area. But I mean, you don't just focus on the taxi cab drivers. Tell the listeners what you have accomplished over the Jindal administration, what you have been able to do.
Well, we've held off privatization of prisons. We've held off the Jindal administration in changing public employees' retirement benefits. We've managed to sit there this past year, got an HCR 9 introduced and on the table for an across-the-board raise for all public employees. So, the issue has been always privatizing portions of mental health. The forensic unit up in Jackson, Louisiana, I think it was 2008, the governor tried to privatize that. He failed. We stopped it. And my hat's off to Brother Lewis Wren, the president of the AFL-CIO. Working with Lewis on this, we managed to hold off, stop this governor when it comes to him implementing his privatization work.
Well, Ed,
for public employees.
I mean, and that's the people that you also represent. It's not, you've gone this avenue over here with the taxi cab drivers, but I mean, your existence is representing public employees, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. And I mean, I think you've done a wonderful job, and you've gotten a lot of people in here in the last couple of years, that have.
Yes, I mean, we've taken some locals around the area, around the Baton Rouge area, that were actually inactive and turned them around and made them active, got them involved,
right,
increased their membership. You know,
and that's how you can make a difference in the legislation.
Oh, very much so, Neil. Very much so. Because when you get the employee involved, you know, civil service, the commission rule that a public employee can't necessarily go to the state capitol, but they have a right to talk to their representative or senator on any piece of legislation that may affect their livelihood. And that's been a big help getting that pushed through the Civil Service Commission, because that allows that a public employee, where in the past, because of the Hatch Act, they could talk to a representative or a senator about anything.
Yeah, and that hadn't been the right thing either. You know, with back on the taxi cab drivers, are y'all going to vote or do any? I mean, is the council going to hear? I know you're talking to each individual council.
We're getting ready. October 24th at 10 a.m. We're going to vote on a portion of the ordinance on the year of the vehicle. That's going to be a big plus. You know, we're also working on a portion of the ordinance with the credit card vendors, the camera vendors, you know, and my hat off to the State Fire Marshal's office, the licensing bureau. The State Fire Marshal's office has been working with us. You know, we've been staying in contact with them because come to find out, when they instituted this ordinance, that those people that were doing the installations had to be licensed to install the cameras, and they weren't at the time. So that was a big plus. That was a big win down there for them.
And I mean, and I'm listening to this kind of in all myself. When you're talking about cameras, you talking about installing cameras inside the taxi to watch the passengers and the driver, or just the passengers, or?
Oh, the camera films everybody in the taxi, whether it's the driver or the passenger.
And that's a requirement. And the independent taxi cab driver, he has to pay for that?
Yes.
Ed, while we're on the taxi cab drivers, are you familiar with Axel Joyner and Albert Hart?
The names sound familiar.
Well, it's a story on the Ask Me website. Yes. I'm very familiar with that. And you know, Axel Joyner been driving taxis, it says here, for 52 years.
That's correct.
And he says longer than any cab driver in the city, and his friend Albert Hart going on 30 years, and together they agree on one thing. There's never been a harder time to be a taxi driver in New Orleans than there is today.
That's correct, Mike, because of what the Taxi Cab Bureau, with the mandates that they've come down on the back of the drivers, mandating that they have to have all this equipment installed. And when you look at it, the driver ends up spending $3,000 or $4,000 out of their own pocket just to have this equipment installed. Then they have to pay for the equipment on top of it. You know, you take the credit card machine. They're required that they have to have a minimum of 20 swipes each month on that credit card machine.
Right.
When you look at that and say, I'm the passenger and I don't want to pay with a credit card, I want to pay with cash, well, then that throws a red flag to the city, the bureau.
And I'm telling you from experience, people think that credit card machine is free. It's not.
It's not free. The driver is paying for it.
Well, and not just that. If somebody swipes their card, and say the bill's $20, in order to use that credit card thing, it might be $21 it's $21.25. There is a fee that the credit card company charges on top of you being able to swipe.
They are charging on an average of 4.5% every time that credit card gets swiped.
And that doesn't go to the consumer, or in the end run it does, but there's some hidden costs with that credit card machine that the public doesn't know about.
The fee itself goes directly to that driver.
That's right.
Comes out of the driver's pocket.
And like I said, I've often I didn't have a clue, but now I've got a little bit more knowledge about it. And when you go, especially with small businesses and things like that, and you use the credit card, it's easier on you. But just so everybody knows, that little small businessman is paying for that machine to be for convenience for you.
That is correct.
There's I guess there's hidden expenses with everything, and then and I'm sure they're required to go with a certain credit card company, and
right. The city, the taxi cab bureau, they're the ones that approve the vendors.
Yeah.
The independent drivers were not allowed to come to the table to choose who they want to use as far as the credit card machine. And we've shown the city councilman, and as well as Malachi Hull, the director over the bureau, that, let's say, Square only charges like 2.7%. So the drivers didn't even get a voice when all this was handed down. From what I understand, and from what I've seen in working with them, the four large cab companies in the city were the ones that come to the table and decided who they were going to use, and then passed the expense on down to the driver.
Right, and then and I'm sure the cameras, and I guess I got a little fascination with this because what is it? Is it a recording that's in the trunk, or is it wireless and it goes to a central location?
It's hardwired into the cab, and that brings up another issue. When these vendors were installing this equipment, we've had several vans catch on fire. If they have a warranty on the vehicle with installation of this equipment, it voids the warranty.
Voids the warranty, that's right.
So, the drivers are faced with a big dilemma here because they're ending up having to have their vehicles repaired when they break down. We just had a driver here a couple weeks ago. She wasn't able to work for a couple weeks because the equipment caused her vehicle to short out. And the expense was on her to get it repaired.
And when she's not driving, she's not making money.
Can't earn.
Yeah.
Exactly. If they're not able to operate, they're not making any money. And when you look at...
Oh, Ed, let me stop you while I'm thinking of this, because I'm sure there's something in these 31. Are they requiring them to, ordinances, are they requiring them to have a certain amount of insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's...
That's another big cost to them. Since we've got them organized and got them chartered as a local, working with some international staff, we're getting ready to bring in some union insurance companies in to help them lower the cost of their insurance. And this is one thing that the four major cab companies don't want to happen because they're having to buy their insurance through those cab companies, which is quite high because their average is, you know, when they're paying like $450 a week for a vehicle and then turn around having to pay $500-600 a month in automobile insurance, well, you're looking at a big expense plus their fuel and the upkeep of the cab.
So it makes you sit there and ponder about next time you ride in a cab, and you go across a few blocks or whatever, and it's $8-10 or whatever, and it didn't take them but a few minutes to do it. Makes you think of, look at all these hidden expenses, the camera costs, the insurance costs, the gas costs. What was the other one we were just talking about? The credit card.
Right.
And I'm sure there's other ones in there that
it makes you wonder: do I want to drive a cab or not?
Yeah, but
the people that have been operating cabs, I would say, out of the 800 plus members that we got now, I would venture to say that the majority of them have been driving for 8 years or longer.
Well, and I'm going to give a little shout out. I just got a text from our illustrious leader, Louis Wren, with the AFL-CIO. He just texted me. That's why they need a union. And good morning, Louis. Glad that you're listening.
Yep.
But
that's when they first contacted me and our state district vice president for the New Orleans area, Sister Helen Jones, we sat down and talked before we ever started this. And then when I went in and I took a look at it, and I said, okay, after meeting with them several times and holding a couple meetings with one of the deputy mayors, Mr. Malachi Hall, we sat down and said, okay, is this a feasible journey? Well, a year later, like I said, latter part of May, when we officially started to organize them, and to come into October with 800 plus members, they saw the need to form a union. They saw the need to make their lives better and show the city that they're a valuable commodity.
Oh, and without a doubt. I mean, they, and most probably what brought this on is nothing different than the construction industry or any other manufacturing industry part of it. You get a couple of big boys, and I'm talking about not independent, but you get a couple of 2 or 3 companies that excuse me, that rule the roost, and it's their way or no way, and and then they're trying to force the independent people out.
Is one of the major players, which is Coleman Cab. He's basically told his drivers, hey, I'm for y'all forming a union. I think it's a great thing. I think it is a needed thing to bring out to the forefront how the industry is being treated. And like I've told the membership, I want y'all to be able to function and help regulate your industry instead of government putting down, regulate what you do and what you don't do. Y'all deserve that voice at the table.
Oh, and that's we all believe that. I mean, and when you talk to big business or look at these corporations, that's not what they say. What they say is organized labor wants government to run everything, and that's the furthest from the truth.
That's exactly right. Yep.
We just want we want to go home just like we left in the morning. We want to make a decent living to support our families, and and that's why the numbers that you're talking about, your voice is being heard. If that would have been one taxi cab driver trying to contact these different people, do you think that ever would have happened?
No. No.
It was a whole lot easier, or it's well, it is. It's easier. Let's be honest about it. It's easier for you to go to a particular politician or an individual or a company and say, hey, look, I'm representing these 800 people, independent taxi cab drivers. Can we have a few minutes of your time? Whereas an independent taxi cab driver would have never gotten, or I would say never gotten, he might have, but his voice wouldn't have been heard like their voice is being heard with 800 people.
No, it never would have happened. I mean, they tried it, and it didn't happen. They've tried it several different ways, spent thousands of dollars, and ended up back at square one. Now that we have them organized as a recognized local in the state of Louisiana, as well as international, their voice is now being heard.
Right. And you've got, I don't know if you glanced at yesterday's paper, but the Bobby Jindal administration is one of their things is that he's got to hang his hat on is how he's cut back over 3,000 workers in the state. Do you see anything coming up with
the retirement system's looking a lot better.
Yeah, because you ain't got nobody to work.
You fired everybody, man.
Listen, this governor, when he was elected in 2008, when he was running, one of the promises he made to public employees that he was not going to do anything to hurt public employees. That has been further from the truth than anything that this governor has ever said. And
that was one of his campaign promises?
Yes.
And they voted for him.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you look at it this way, Mike. The last approval rating I heard on Governor Jindal was around 37%. If you take that 37%, that means 3 out of every 5 people voted for Bobby Jindal. So that includes a lot of public employees, because they took him at face value to what he said. But that has been further from the truth.
Right.
He has cut, I would say, since Kathleen Blanco's administration, over 26,000 positions in the state of Louisiana. That's public employees. There anything from hospital workers to prison guards to healthcare workers.
Well, and Ed, the thing because we've got people that are listening and people that aren't listening that have the belief that when you privatize something, look at how much money you save. But in the long run, it's really not, because, and we've talked about this on past shows, what happens is these employees have insurance, they have a little pension plan, and they're making, I'm not going to say a decent living, but they're making a wage. When you privatize something, you get rid of all the equipment that it takes to operate that particular task that these people are performing. And so, yeah, you're going to save money in the beginning. But these companies, and it's no different than when they privatize collecting garbage or privatize the janitorial and the custodian work at the schools and other things. Once these places, they get rid of the people, and then the state sells at a surplus sale all the equipment that it takes to do these tasks. They sign a 3-year contract or what have you. In 3 years, they go up on the price. In 4, 5, 6 years, they go up on the price again, and they kind of got you hostage because his administration isn't going to be dealing with negotiating with these people that are privatizing. If you think for 1 second, and they'll lowball coming into this thing, knowing that in 3 years they can get more money, out of the government.
Well, Neil, we're seeing that every day. For instance, when they took the LSU healthcare system and dismantled it, to start with Earl K. Lump, when they did that.
Oh yeah. And while we're here, and I know Mike's been wanting to talk about this a little bit, but while we got you on the phone, the government shutdown. Talk to us about that a little bit, on your feelings with that.
When you look at that with the government shutdown, there has to be some way for all parties to sit down and come to a reasonable agreement to keep this country running and not send it into default.
Yeah, and Ed, Mike brought up a good thing last week. I'm going to let him ask you the question he asked me, because we were talking about the doctor of the poor saying that and it was in the paper yesterday. He had a couple of little paragraphs in the paper about this president will not negotiate. Tell him what you asked Ed, the questions you asked me.
Ed, I'd like to ask you a series of questions here.
All right.
Can I burn your house down?
No.
Can I burn the second floor of your house down?
No.
Can I burn your garage down?
No.
You don't want to negotiate. You're just taking a hard line on this.
Here's the reason why. You're sitting there, Mike, and you're setting yourself up to say...
That's Cassidy. That's what Cassidy's saying.
Well, you got the whole Republican delegation from Louisiana that's involved in this. Fleming, and I'm sure Ed will back this up, is probably the most vocal out of the whole bunch.
I agree.
They're ready. They're saying that there would be no effects for the government to default. I mean, that's what I'm getting out of it. Am I wrong, Ed?
That's what I got out of it. But, when you default, Mike, what happens?
Well, you're not paying your bills. People don't get paid. The World War II memorial gets shut down. People don't get WIC. Veterans might not. Veterans that's getting killed over in Afghanistan are not getting buried. A lot of things happen.
You got a privatized. I mean, you got a charitable company that's going to pay for the death benefits. I read the other day. Yeah,
right, and that's a shame.
It is.
What is known as Fisher House.
Well, and the whole thing is, and I agree with what Mary Landrieu's saying that how can you negotiate when somebody's got a gun up to your head, saying that...
When you sit there and the Republicans are saying, well, we want this, we want to go back and revisit the affordable health care. It needs to be cleaned up.
It was passed.
No argument there, Ed.
And they're willing to do that, but that's not what they're wanting to do, Ed. They're wanting to defund the affordable health care. There's a big difference.
Well, they're wanting to take away the medical tax on devices, which, it seems to me that's open for negotiation.
It is.
But now they done dropped that, and they're going to Social Security, Medicare, and everything else. So the game has changed. The game's changed in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
When those NBC Wall Street polls come out, and it's showing that Barack Obama's at about 31% popularity rating, and the Republican Congress is at 5%.
5%.
That seemed to be a game changer there, where they said, well, you know what? Let's try something else.
But Mike, you have the
Let's try to defund something else.
You have the Tea Partiers.
They're untouchable.
Their district it was drawn out where they don't have to. You've got the Cassidy, the Bill Cassidy,
The
that
self-proclaimed doctor of the poor.
You've got him. They're not going. He's not going to change because he knows that his constituents are. He's going to get voted. I mean, he's going to get voted by
He's not even worried about it. The only thing, as I see Ed, and I'd like you to chime in on this.
Oh, yeah, he's not running.
Cassidy's got to worry about the whole state.
Right.
Neil Reiser's running for his position.
Yeah.
So, Mike, he has to worry about the whole state, but when he puts his, for lack of better words, his value to that point, he's not taking care of the whole state.
Well, no, what I'm saying... what I'm saying is that as far as being elected, he's not in that 85%, 90% Republican district that he can say, hey, we need to defund this, we need to defund that. Louisiana, being one of the poorest states in the country, along with Mississippi, depend on federal money coming to this state. And this guy's ratcheting all that up, and he's having to get votes in a lot of districts that depend on federal money. Fort Polk. Is that not federal money, Ed?
You're right.
And they had a thing in there. They were talking about Fort Polk, as a matter of fact. Mary Landry said that it's not just Fort Polk that's seeing the heartache on that. What about all the little mom and pop stores, the little restaurants, the waitresses,
shops, everything over there?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just lying down, going into that fort.
Look,
yeah, I mean,
way to drive the small businesses out of business.
These guys don't get that check. There's a problem in that town.
And Mike, you're just talking about one little area right there. I mean, we
look, when a charity has got to bail out the federal government to bring dead soldiers home,
something's
that's
wrong.
A problem.
Yep.
That is a big problem.
That is a problem. You got grieving relatives over here, and these young men and women, they weren't drafted. They bumped up to the desk, and they signed at their own volition. And it's a damn shame that this federal government, and you know what, all these we've already sent bills to the Senate that would open half the government. Hey, open it all. Don't open half of it. They're trying to open up parts of it.
They're popular.
That make them look good.
Yeah.
That make them look good. Another self-proclaimed doctor of the poor move there.
Right.
That's all that is.
Well, and Ed,
y'all know that there is an old bill that was passed in 1870 that's still on the books. It's called the Anti-Deficiency Act. What that act says that the federal government cannot shut down only in the times of an emergency. It must have complete approval of the Congress and the President to shut down.
Ed, you've got them shut down and we're in a war.
Right, but that is not an emergency.
The war?
Listen, Mike, what I'm getting at, listen to my point here.
Okay.
In a war, true enough. This country has a history of being involved in a conflict somewhere every other decade. Doesn't falter. If you look back every 10 years, this country has been involved somewhere. We've been our brother's keeper. The act says in a dire-hard emergency. This country is not in an emergency situation.
I agree with you on that.
What we have is a group of congressmen and senators sitting there dictating one side to the other that this is what's going to take place.
But Ed, you've got a minority with the Tea Party that is really holding the whole thing at hostage.
No, you've got a.
I listened to a Tea Party guy that's running for the 5th district. This guy is off the edge with reality, because as far as he's concerned, the federal government should not even exist.
Well, that's why they went in. That's why they were elected, Ed.
That's correct.
They weren't elected to make government work. They were elected to tear government down. And you got John Boehner, and I mean, from all news reports, he's a moderate. He makes things, was known as making things happen, negotiating.
Reaching across the aisle.
Yeah, reaching across the aisle. And he's let these people drive him, paint him into a corner, and he just, the man just, he don't want to lose his speaker's job.
He's gutless.
Gutless.
He's not a leader. And you know what?
He is not a leader.
And that's what they...
He's going to lose his job anyway.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something else. They sit there and they point. The doctor of the poor even pointed his finger that the president, or not him, Bobby Jindal said that the president needs to lead. He did 2 great campaigns and was elected, and he needs to start leading. He is leading. He has drawn the line and said that it was passed in both houses, the affordable health care. It went to the Supreme Court.
They dropped that.
And I know they dropped it, but this was the main issue going into this.
Going for chain CPI. And some other...
But, Mike, this is what I'm saying is it all started with they wanted to defund the affordable health care.
Oh, yeah.
And the President of the United States is leading. And he says, no, we're not budging on that. Now they've changed it to something else because, they're seeing the ratings. And, he is, as far as I'm concerned, he is leading.
Amen.
Ed, finish up. We got about a minute. Go ahead. What do you got going on this week? What are you doing? What's going on with it?
I just come out of Washington Parish. Like I said, Tuesday and Wednesday. Did some good work over there. I'm out spreading the word for people to get out and vote. This is a very important election. We have an opportunity to send a staunch Democrat to Congress in the 5th District. The main thing we need people to do is remember to get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Well,
that's what I've been working on.
And when we had Ernest on the show a week or 2 ago, that's the whole thing. If you know somebody in that district, call them, get them to go vote.
Which we're waiting for Ernest to come back too. Well, Ed, that's it. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. We're on WTQT 106.1 LP-FM. We're also on TV in Shreveport, Ed. Channel K31.2, and that's Alexandria K38.2, that's digital TV. And we're online at WTQT.org. You can catch our stream. And Ed, as we always say here on Baton Rouge Labor Radio, if you work for free, you'll always have a job. Live better, work union. Thank you, Ed Parker, from Ask Me Get Local. And we go back to WLTQ's program.